What comes to mind when you think of Purim? Noisemakers for kids? Free-flowing liquor for adults? Costumes and sweets for everybody? Purim is all of these things and more. Let's dive into the history of the holiday and understand one of its most beloved symbols, the triangle-shaped cookies called Hamantaschen. How have interpretations of their meaning changed with the times? Here's the CliffsNotes version of the story of Purim in case you aren't up to speed. The holiday commemorates the survival of the Jews of ancient Persia in the face of genocide. It's all in the book of Esther. After King Ahasuerus offs his queen for standing up to him, the king falls in love with Esther, a bright and beautiful young Jewish woman. He doesn't know that part yet. At the same time, Esther's cousin Mordecai foils a plot to kill Ahasuerus and earns himself a nod in the king's memoir. Later, Mordecai refuses to bow down to the king's power-hungry advisor Haman, who advises the king to murder all the Jews in the kingdom as his revenge. King Ahasuerus, who apparently had a short memory, responds with a royal, "Yeah, sure, whatever." When Mordecai and Esther learn of Haman's evil plot, Esther risks her life and pleads with the king to save her people. For once, King Ahasuerus does the right thing and listens to Esther, approving both Haman's execution and a plan for the kingdom's Jews to counterattack the army Haman had assembled against them. Everyone left alive celebrates with an epic feast. In other words, they tried to kill us, we survived, let's eat. If that summary of the Purim story seems a little irreverent for a major religious holiday, don't worry. It's perfectly consistent with traditional Purim celebrations. Because there are multiple giant feasts in the Book of Esther, and because royal wine plays a leading role in its story, Purim has been the most raucous holiday on the Jewish calendar for centuries, a Jewish Mardi Gras of sorts. Friends and family send each other gifts of sweets and wine called mishloach manot. Purim services include costumes, singing, dancing, and comedy sketches called Purim spiels in Yiddish. During Purim readings of Esther, congregants in synagogues typically boo or make noise every time the name of the villain, Haman, is mentioned. The rabbis of the Talmud command that a person is obligated to become intoxicated with wine on Purim, that they do not know how to distinguish between cursed is Haman and blessed is Mordecai. So, Purim parties, even Orthodox Jewish ones, have a tendency to get lit. With those drinks flowing, you're going to need snacks to soak it all up. And the children and other non-drinkers deserve a holiday treat too. Mizrahi Jews traditionally bake mamuls, a cookie stuffed with nuts or dates. For Ashkenazi Jews, the customary Purim treats are Hamantaschen, triangle-shaped cookies folded around a sweet filling. These iconic cookies have fueled Purim parties for generations, and there are about as many different kinds of filling as there are Purim costumes. Though everyone knows Poppy is the best. This treat has evolved in form and meaning over centuries of Jewish culture. The oldest written mention of Hamantaschen dates back to 16th century Italy. A Purim play by Yehuda Somo references a treat called Oznei Haman in Hebrew. The phrase literally translates to Haman's ears. Before you lose your appetite, don't worry. There is no evidence that his ears and head were ever separated. Also, several Eastern European cultures make dumplings with names that translate to little ears. So this 16th century name may just be referencing a dumpling for Purim. Chronologically, the next version we can find of the modern Hamantaschen is the Central and Eastern European mon, or poppy seed-filled dessert. Many dishes from the region feature poppy seeds. A pastry or cookie pocket would be called a tash in Yiddish, so mon taschen would be cookie pockets filled with poppy seeds. Imagine saying that again and again over a span of a few hundred years in different Yiddish dialects and regional accents, and Hamantaschen could end up sounding a lot like Hamantaschen. It's entirely possible that Haman's name became associated with these cookies through coincidental variations in language and pronunciation. Either way, that association has stuck. Jewish children for generations have learned that the cookies are triangular because Haman wore a tri-cornered hat. This could be true, but our sources on 4th century BCE Persian royal court fashion are pretty limited, since all the copies of ancient Vogue burned up with the Library of Alexandria. A more recent interpretation of Hamantaschen brings the focus back to the hero of the holiday story, Queen Esther. The triangle-shaped cookie could in fact represent a uterus. We know that's a long walk from a hat, but hear us out. Esther's youth and beauty were the secret to her successful appeal to King Ahasuerus to save the Jews of Persia, not to mention the reason she became his queen. In ancient literature, youth and beauty are often code words for fertility. Queens throughout history were chosen for their ability to produce an heir to the throne, and the same is true for Queen Esther. Since Purim is an early spring holiday, symbols of regrowth and fertility wouldn't be surprising. Consider the European Hamantaschen in this context. It's a cookie filled with poppy seeds, and it happens to have the same triangular shape as most textbook illustrations of a uterus. The feminine symbolism pays tribute to the holiday's hero, Queen Esther, instead of drawing attention to Haman, the genocidal villain. And there's never a wrong time to recognize a woman of valor who saved Judaism for generations to come. Just ask your mother. Hamantaschen are for everyone. Children, adults, Jews, non-Jews, everyone. There's a Hamantaschen filling for every taste. Poppy seed, fruit, nuts, chocolate and peanut butter, savory fillings like cheese and spinach, as well as gluten-free options are available too. The possibilities are as endless as your imagination. Just be sure to make a big batch. You'll find plenty of hungry friends at your Purim celebration. Thanks for watching! If you like this video, consider subscribing. And if you have a topic you want us to tackle in an upcoming video, let us know in the comments below.